The ballroom looked like something out of a movie. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting warm light over tables covered in white silk. Women in expensive gowns laughed softly, while men in perfectly fitted tuxedos swirled wine in their glasses. Everything sparkled. Everything looked perfect. Maya moved through it all like a ghost. She carried a silver tray, weaving between tables, refilling champagne glasses before anyone had to ask. Her black uniform was simple and plain, designed to help her blend into the background. That was the point. At events like this, the staff wasn't supposed to be noticed. They were just there to make sure everything ran smoothly, while the important people enjoyed themselves. Maya had been doing this for almost 3 years now. She knew the routine by heart. Smile politely if someone made eye contact, but don't start conversations. Keep moving. Stay invisible. Clear the plates quickly. Make sure no glass stays empty for too long. Tonight was a charity gala at one of Manhattan's fanciest hotels, the kind of place where a single ticket cost more than Maya made in a month. She'd worked dozens of events like this, and they all felt the same. Rich people gathered to feel good about donating money while eating expensive food and networking with each other. She wasn't bitter about it, not really. Someone had to serve the champagne, and she needed the job. The pay was decent, and the catering company she worked for got hired for high-end events, which meant good tips sometimes. Besides, she'd learned to find small moments of peace in the chaos. Like right now, when she could steal a few seconds to glance at the stage, there was a beautiful grand piano sitting there, a Steinway from what she could tell. The stage lights made it glow, and she could see her reflection in its polished black surface even from across the room. Her fingers tingled just looking at it. Maya shook her head and turned away. No point in torturing herself. She headed back to the kitchen, pushing through the swinging doors into a completely different world. Here everything was loud and chaotic. Chefs shouted orders, pans clanged, and other servers rushed past carrying trays. Maya dropped off her empty tray and grabbed a new one loaded with appetizers. "Table 12 needs these right away," another server told her, barely slowing down. Maya nodded and headed back out. As she walked, she caught pieces of conversations from the tables she passed. "Did you see the portfolio returns this quarter? We're thinking of buying the place in the Hamptons. The kids are at boarding school in Switzerland now." Different world, she thought. These people worried about which vacation home to buy. She worried about making rent and paying her mother's medical bills, her mother. That's why she was here, wearing this uniform, serving people who probably wouldn't remember her face 5 minutes after she left. Her mom had gotten sick 2 years ago. Really sick. The kind of sick that meant hospital stays, specialists, treatments that insurance only partly covered. Someone had to pay for all of it. Maya had dropped out of school to take care of her. Not just any school, though. She'd been accepted to Juilliard, full scholarship for piano performance. It had been her dream since she was 6 years old, sitting at an old upright piano in their tiny apartment, teaching herself to read music from library books. She'd been 3 months into her first year when her mom collapsed at work. The scholarship covered tuition, but it didn't cover taking care of a sick parent. It didn't cover medical bills or rent when your mom couldn't work anymore. Maya had to choose, and really it wasn't even a choice. Family came first. That was 3 years ago. Some days it felt like a lifetime. Some days it felt like yesterday. "Excuse me, miss?" Maya snapped back to the present. A woman at table 7 was holding up an empty glass, looking impatient. "Sorry, I'll get that right away," Maya said, painting on her professional smile. She made her rounds, taking mental notes of who needed what. Years of practice had made her good at this. She could read a room, anticipate needs, move efficiently. Her manager always scheduled her for the biggest events because she never messed up. As she worked, she kept noticing people checking their watches. There was supposed to be a piano performance tonight. Some famous classical pianist who played at concert halls around the world. That was the main entertainment for the evening. The thing that was supposed to get everyone in the right mood before the charity auction started. But something was wrong. Maya could tell by the way the event organizers kept whispering urgently to each other near the stage. One of them was on her phone, and she did not look happy. "This is a disaster," Maya heard one organizer hiss to another as she passed by. "He should have been here 40 minutes ago." "Keep trying his manager," the other one replied, stress clear in her voice. "We need to start the auction in 20 minutes. The whole evening's schedule depends on the piano performance happening first." Maya delivered another tray of champagne and circled back toward the kitchen, near the hallway that led to the service area. She saw 3 event organizers huddled together and they looked panicked. "He's stuck in traffic on the bridge," one of them said, staring at her phone. "He won't make it for at least another hour, maybe more." "We can't wait that long," another replied. "People are already getting restless. If we don't start the auction soon, we'll lose the momentum. This whole evening is about creating the right atmosphere." "Well, what do you suggest? We can't just skip the music." That piano performance was supposed to be the emotional high point before we ask people to open their wallets. "Can we find recorded music or something?" "That's not the same. Everyone knows we promised a live performance." "We'll look cheap." Maya slipped past them into the service hallway. She needed a break, just 5 minutes away from the fake smiles and the pressure of balancing heavy trays and heels. She found a quiet corner and leaned against the wall, closing her eyes. Without thinking, her fingers started moving. They traced invisible piano keys in the air, muscle memory from thousands of hours of practice taking over. Her right hand played an imaginary melody while her left hand added harmony. She could hear the music in her head, clear as if she were actually playing. This was her secret comfort. In quiet moments like this, she let herself remember. Remember what it felt like to really play. Not just as background music in her mind, but on an actual piano, in front of an actual audience. Back when she had a future in music, not just memories of what could have been. She heard footsteps and quickly dropped her hands, opening her eyes. One of the organizers rushed past, talking rapidly on her phone. Maya checked her watch. Her break was over anyway. As she walked back toward the ballroom, she heard one organizer say to another, half joking, half desperate, "At this point, I'd take anyone who can play." Anyone at all. Maya stopped walking. Her heart started beating faster. That piano was just sitting there waiting. She could play. She knew she could. She might be wearing a waitress uniform instead of a concert dress, but her fingers hadn't forgotten. They never would. But who was she kidding? These people didn't want music from the help. They wanted a famous performer, someone with credentials and a Wikipedia page. She was nobody, just another server making minimum wage plus tips. Still, as she stood there in that hallway, something stirred inside her. Something she'd tried to bury for 3 years but never quite managed to kill. That part of her that lived for music, that dreamed in melodies, that felt most alive when her fingers touched piano keys. What if she offered? What was the worst that could happen? They'd say no and she'd go back to serving champagne. Nothing would change, but what if they said yes? Maya took a deep breath, straightened her uniform, and walked toward the panicking organizers. Her hands were already trembling, but she kept moving forward anyway. Sometimes courage isn't about being fearless. Sometimes it's just about taking the next step even when you're terrified. Maya's legs felt like they weren't entirely under her control as she walked toward the group of stressed-out organizers. Her brain was screaming at her to turn around, to forget this crazy idea, to go back to being invisible, but her feet kept moving forward. The 3 women were huddled near the stage entrance and they looked like they were ready to pull their hair out. One of them was typing furiously on her phone. Another was chewing her thumbnail. The third one, a tall woman in a navy blue dress who seemed to be in charge, was staring at the piano like it had personally betrayed her. Maya cleared her throat. Excuse me, they didn't hear her. Or maybe they heard her but assumed she was just another server with a question about the dinner service. She tried again, louder this time. Excuse me, I heard you need someone to play the piano. All 3 women turned to look at her. Their expressions went from stressed to confused in about half a second. The tall woman in the navy dress looked Maya up and down, taking in the simple black uniform, the practical shoes, the name tag that marked her as catering staff. I'm sorry, what? The woman said. Maya's mouth had gone completely dry. She swallowed hard and forced herself to keep talking. The pianist who was supposed to perform tonight. He's stuck in traffic, right? I can play. If you need someone. The 3 women exchanged glances. One of them actually looked like she was trying not to laugh. Not in a mean way exactly, but in that way people do when they think they've misunderstood something. You play piano? The tall woman asked, and Maya could hear the skepticism in her voice. Yes, I do. I did. I went to Juilliard. The words came out rushed, defensive. I had to leave, but I trained there. Classical performance. I can play whatever you need. The woman who'd been chewing her thumbnail spoke up. Look, honey, that's sweet, but this is a really important event. We need someone who can play at a professional level. These people paid a lot of money to be here tonight. I understand that, Maya said, and she was surprised by how steady her voice sounded now. I am a professional, or I was training to be one. I can play Chopin, Beethoven, Rachmaninoff, whatever you want. Just give me a chance. The tall woman checked her watch and let out a long breath. She looked at the piano, then back at Maya, then at her colleagues. They were running out of time and everyone knew it. Can you play right now? The woman asked. Like, can you just sit down and play something? No warm-up, no sheet music? Maya nodded. Her heart was pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat, but she nodded. Yes, I can do that. Another long moment of silence. The three organizers looked at each other again, having some kind of silent conversation. Finally, the tall woman sighed. Okay, you get 5 minutes. One song. If it's good enough, you can play for the auction. If it's not... She didn't finish the sentence, but Maya understood. If it wasn't good enough, she'd be sent back to serving champagne, and they'd figure out some other solution. Thank you, Maya managed to say. I won't let you down. As the organizers walked away to discuss logistics, Maya stood there for a moment, trying to process what had just happened. Had she really just volunteered to perform in front of hundreds of wealthy strangers? What was she thinking? But before she could spiral into panic, she felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to see one of the other servers, an older woman named Rita, who'd worked with the catering company for years. Did I just hear what I think I heard? Rita asked, her eyes wide. Maya nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Rita squeezed her shoulder. Girl, I've watched you during breaks. I've seen how you look at pianos whenever we work events that have them. I've seen your fingers moving like you're playing invisible keys. If they're giving you a shot, take it. Show them what you can do. I'm terrified, Maya whispered. Good, Rita said with a smile. That means it matters to you. Now go. I'll cover your section. Maya walked toward the stage. Each step felt surreal, like she was watching herself from outside her body. The tall woman in the navy dress was already at the microphone, preparing to make an announcement. The background music that had been playing softly was fading out. Ladies and gentlemen, the woman's voice carried across the ballroom, smooth and professional. We have a slight change to this evening's program. Due to unforeseen circumstances, our scheduled pianist has been delayed. However, we're fortunate to have a talented musician here with us tonight who has graciously agreed to perform for us. Maya could feel hundreds of pairs of eyes turning toward the stage. She climbed the steps, her practical server shoes making soft sounds against the wood. The piano looked even more beautiful up close. She'd walked past it a dozen times tonight while working, but now she was actually going to play it. She sat down on the bench and adjusted it slightly. The keys seemed to glow under the stage lights. She placed her fingers on them, feeling the familiar smooth ivory under her fingertips. It had been so long since she'd played a real piano. She practiced on a keyboard in her tiny apartment sometimes when her mom was feeling okay. But it wasn't the same. Nothing compared to the real thing. The room wasn't completely quiet. People were still talking in low voices, probably wondering who this random performer was. Some were looking at their phones. Others were refilling their wine glasses. They weren't expecting much. Why would they? She was just a waitress who'd offered to fill in background music while they waited for the real show. Maya closed her eyes and let the noise fade away. She thought about her mom lying in a hospital bed, always asking when Maya would play for her again. She thought about the years of practice, the early mornings and late nights at the piano. She thought about the acceptance letter from Juilliard that still sat in a drawer at home, a reminder of a dream she'd had to set aside. All of that pain, all of that sacrifice, all of those silenced hopes, she could put them into the music. She could let them speak through her fingers. She took a deep breath and began to play. The first notes were soft, tentative, Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major. It was a piece she'd played hundreds of times, a piece that felt like coming home. Her fingers remembered exactly where to go, exactly how much pressure to apply, exactly when to let the notes breathe. And then something clicked. The nervousness melted away. The fear disappeared. There was only the music and the story it was telling. Her hands moved across the keys with confidence now, drawing out the melody with all the emotion she'd been holding inside for years. She could feel the room changing. The conversations were stopping. People were turning their chairs to face the stage. The clinking of glasses ceased. Even the servers standing along the walls had stopped moving. Maya poured everything into the performance. Every lonely night working double shifts. Every time she'd walked past a concert hall and wondered what her life might have been. Every moment of sitting by her mother's bedside, holding her hand and humming melodies to comfort them both. All of it flowed through her fingers into the keys, into the air, into the hearts of everyone listening. The piece built to its emotional peak, and Maya let herself get swept up in it. This wasn't just playing notes on a page. This was speaking in a language deeper than words. This was telling her story to a room full of strangers who suddenly weren't strangers anymore. Because music had a way of connecting people that nothing else could. As she played the final measures, bringing the volume down to barely a whisper, she felt tears on her cheeks. She didn't remember starting to cry, but there they were. The last note hung in the air, delicate and beautiful, and then faded into silence. For a moment, nothing happened. The silence was so complete that Maya wondered if she'd somehow messed up, if she'd misread the room entirely. Then someone started clapping. And then someone else. And then the entire ballroom erupted into applause. Maya opened her eyes, surprised to find that she was still sitting at the piano. She'd been so lost in the music that the real world felt strange now. She blinked against the stage lights and looked out at the crowd. People were standing. Actually standing. They were giving her a standing ovation. She stood up on shaky legs, not sure what to do with her hands. Someone had taught her to bow once years ago at a recital, so she did that. The applause got louder. As she walked off the stage, her mind was spinning. What had just happened? 5 minutes ago, she'd been carrying champagne. Now people were looking at her like she was someone important, someone worth noticing. The tall woman in the navy dress met her at the bottom of the stage steps. Her expression had completely changed. She was smiling now, and there were tears in her eyes. "That was incredible," she said, gripping Maya's hand. "I've been organizing events for 15 years, and I've never seen anything like that. You're playing for the auction. The full performance. Whatever you want to play." Maya nodded, still too overwhelmed to form words. Around her, people were approaching, wanting to know who she was, where she'd trained, why they'd never heard of her. The other servers were staring at her with expressions ranging from shock to pride. Rita was beaming like a proud mother. Maya's hands were still trembling. But for the first time in 3 years, they weren't trembling from fear or exhaustion. They were trembling from joy. Maya barely had time to catch her breath before people started surrounding her. Men in expensive suits, women dripping in jewelry, all of them wanting to talk to the waitress who could play like that. "Where did you study? Have you recorded anything? Do you perform regularly?" The questions came from every direction, and Maya felt her head spinning. She wasn't used to this kind of attention. For the past 3 years, her job had been to stay in the background, to be helpful but forgettable. Now everyone wanted to know her story. "I need a minute," she said to no one in particular, and somehow managed to slip away from the crowd. She found a quiet corner near the kitchen entrance and leaned against the wall, trying to process everything. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out and saw a text from her mom's nurse. "Just checking in. Your mom is doing well tonight, resting comfortably." Maya smiled and quickly typed back a response. Then she noticed she had 3 missed calls from her manager at the catering company. That probably wasn't good. She was supposed to be working, not performing on stage. But before she could call back, Rita appeared beside her. "Girl, you better get back out there," Rita said, excitement lighting up her face. "They want you to play again. Like a full performance, and people are talking about you. And really talking." Someone was filming on their phone. Maya's stomach dropped. "Filming?" "Yeah, and they already posted it online. I saw it on my break. It's getting shared like crazy." Before Maya could respond to that terrifying piece of information, the tall woman in the navy dress appeared. She looked flustered but happy. "There you are. I'm Jennifer, by the way. I should have introduced myself properly before. I'm the director of the Morrison Foundation. We're the ones hosting tonight's gala." She paused, studying Maya's face. "Are you okay? You look pale." "I'm fine," Maya said, though she wasn't entirely sure that was true. "Just a little overwhelmed." Jennifer's expression softened. "I can imagine. Listen, I know this wasn't what you signed up for tonight, but would you be willing to play another piece? We want to start the auction in about 20 minutes, and after that performance, everyone's in the perfect mood to donate. You've done something special here." Maya nodded slowly. "Another performance." She could do that. The first one had felt like magic, like something outside of herself had taken over. Maybe she could find that feeling again. "What would you like me to play?" she asked. "Whatever speaks to you," Jennifer said. "You clearly know what you're doing. I trust your judgment." As Jennifer walked away to make arrangements, Maya felt a hand on her arm. She turned to find an older man standing beside her. He had silver hair, kind eyes, and wore a tuxedo that probably cost more than her entire year's rent. "I hope you don't mind me approaching you," he said gently. "I'm David Morrison. The foundation is named after my late wife." Maya recognized the name. The Morrison Foundation was one of the biggest arts charities in the city. They funded scholarships, supported struggling artists, kept small theaters and music programs alive. "Your playing moved me deeply," David continued. "I've attended hundreds of performances over the years. My wife was a violinist and we made it our mission to support the arts. But what you did up there, that was something rare. That was pure emotion, pure truth." He paused. "Jennifer mentioned you studied at Juilliard?" Maya felt her throat tighten. "Yes, sir. I had a scholarship. But I had to leave. My mother got sick and someone needed to take care of her, pay the bills. I couldn't do both." David's eyes filled with understanding and sadness. "I see, and now you're working as a server to support her?" Maya nodded, not trusting herself to speak. "That's remarkable," David said quietly. "That kind of sacrifice, that kind of love, it comes through in your music. People can feel it." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card. "I'd like to talk with you after tonight about your situation. The foundation exists to help artists like you. Artists who have talent but face circumstances beyond their control." Maya took the card with shaking hands. "Thank you." "That's very kind." "It's not kindness," David said with a slight smile. "It's good sense. Talent like yours shouldn't be hidden away. The world needs to hear you play." He walked away, leaving Maya staring at the business card in her hand. Could this be real? Was this actually happening? She didn't have long to wonder. Jennifer was waving at her from across the room, signaling that it was time. Maya straightened her uniform, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, and walked back toward the stage. This time, people noticed her immediately. The conversations quieted as she climbed the steps. All eyes were on her. She could feel the weight of their expectations, their curiosity. They wanted to see if the first performance had been a fluke, if this unknown waitress could really deliver. Maya sat at the piano and placed her hands on the keys. What should she play? The Chopin had been safe, familiar, but something inside her wanted to take a risk, to show these people who she really was. She decided to improvise. It wasn't something she'd done much in her formal training. Classical performance was about precision, about honoring the composer's intentions, but her mother had always loved when Maya would just play, creating melodies on the spot, letting her emotions guide her fingers instead of following written notes. She started with a simple melody in a minor key. Something melancholy but not depressing. Something that spoke of loss but also hope. Her left hand added a gentle accompaniment, and then she let the music grow, evolve, take on a life of its own. She wove in fragments of classical pieces she loved, bits of jazz she'd heard on the radio, even a few bars that echoed the lullabies her mother used to sing to her as a child. It all flowed together into something entirely new, entirely her own. The music built and receded like waves, sometimes powerful and demanding, sometimes soft as a whisper. She let it tell the story she couldn't always find words for. The story of loving someone so much that you'd give up your dreams for them. The story of feeling invisible, forgotten, but still holding on to hope. The story of finding beauty in unexpected places. Maya lost track of time. She didn't know if she'd been playing for 5 minutes or 20. All she knew was the music and the story it was telling. When she finally brought it to a close, ending on a single, sustained note that faded into silence, she felt like she'd poured her entire soul onto those keys. The applause came again, even louder than before. But this time Maya wasn't as shocked. She stood, bowed, and allowed herself to really look at the audience. They weren't just rich donors at a charity event anymore. They were people who'd been moved by her music. People who'd connected with her story. As she left the stage, Jennifer grabbed her in an unexpected hug. "That was extraordinary. You didn't just play, you created something brand new right there in front of everyone. Do you know how rare that is?" Maya shook her head, still trying to come back to reality. I recorded the last piece on my phone, Jennifer said. I hope that's okay, I had to. No one would believe me if I just told them about it. Before Maya could respond, she noticed movement near the entrance. The doors had opened, and a distinguished-looking man in a tuxedo was walking in, looking flustered and apologetic. Behind him came someone carrying a violin case. That's him, Rita whispered, appearing at Maya's side. That's the famous pianist who was supposed to perform tonight. He finally made it. Maya watched as Jennifer went to greet the man. They spoke in low voices, and Maya could see the pianist glancing toward the stage, then toward her. His expression was hard to read. Then he did something Maya didn't expect. He walked straight toward her, his hand extended. You must be the musician everyone's talking about, he said with a warm smile. I'm Vincent Chen, and from what I'm hearing, you've made my delay completely irrelevant. I'm almost glad I got stuck in traffic. I'm Maya, she managed to say, shaking his hand. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take your spot, Vincent laughed. Are you kidding? You saved the evening. Jennifer just told me what you did, playing without preparation, creating something original on the spot. That takes real courage and real skill. He paused, his expression becoming more serious. I heard you studied at Juilliard but had to leave. Maya nodded, wondering how much of her story had spread in the last hour. I teach master classes there sometimes, Vincent said. I'd like to hear you play again in a more formal setting. Would you be open to that? Maya couldn't quite believe what she was hearing. Yes, of course. Good. Vincent pulled out his phone. Give me your number. I'll be in touch next week. As Maya recited her number and Vincent saved it in his contacts, she felt like she'd stepped into someone else's life. This couldn't be her reality. Things like this didn't happen to people like her, but it was happening. Right now, and for the first time in 3 years, Maya let herself feel something she'd thought was gone forever. Hope. Maya woke up the next morning convinced it had all been a dream. The fancy ballroom, the standing ovations, the business cards from wealthy donors and famous musicians, all of it felt too surreal to be real. Then she saw her phone. There were 47 missed calls, 63 text messages. Her social media accounts had exploded overnight with notifications. She sat up in bed, her heart racing, and opened the first message. It was from Rita. Girl, you're famous. Check Instagram. With trembling fingers, Maya opened the app. The first thing she saw was a video of herself at the piano, completely lost in her improvised performance. It had been viewed over 2 million times. 2 million. In less than 12 hours. The comments were overwhelming. Who is this woman? Her playing made me cry. This is what pure talent looks like. I need to know her story. Better than any concert I've paid to see. Maya scrolled through hundreds of comments, each one more surreal than the last. People were sharing the video, tagging their friends, asking if anyone knew who she was. Someone had already created a fan account for her. Her phone rang. She didn't recognize the number, but she answered anyway. Hello, is this Maya Chen? A professional-sounding woman's voice. Yes, this is Maya. My name is Patricia Wu. I'm a talent agent with Harmony Arts Management. I saw your performance last night, and I'd love to discuss representation. Are you currently signed with anyone? Maya's mouth went dry. I'm not signed with anyone. I'm not even really performing. I mean, last night was just extraordinary, Patricia finished. Listen, I know this must be overwhelming, but I've been in this business for 20 years and I know real talent when I see it. You have something special. Let's meet for coffee this week and talk about your future. They scheduled a meeting for Thursday. When Maya hung up, her phone immediately rang again. This time it was a producer from a morning talk show. Then a reporter from a music magazine. Then someone from a record label. Maya turned off her phone. She needed to think. She needed to breathe. She got dressed and took the subway to the hospital where her mother was staying. The familiar routine of the journey helped calm her nerves. This was real. The hospital, her mother, the bills they still had to pay, this was her actual life. The rest of it, the viral videos and the phone calls from agents, that was something else entirely. Her mother was awake when Maya arrived, sitting up in bed and looking stronger than she had in weeks. There's my girl, her mother said with a tired smile. Then she noticed Maya's expression. What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. Maya sat down in the chair beside the bed and told her everything. About offering to play at the gala. About the standing ovation. About David Morrison and Vincent Chen and the video that was now being watched by millions of people. Her mother listened quietly, her eyes growing wider with each detail. When Maya finished, there was a long moment of silence. "You played?" her mother finally said, her voice thick with emotion. "You actually played in front of all those people?" Maya nodded. "Oh, sweetheart." Her mother reached out and took Maya's hand. "I've been so worried about you. Watching you give up your dreams for me. Working yourself to exhaustion. I felt so guilty." "Mom, don't. You didn't ask for any of this to happen." "I know, but still." Her mother squeezed her hand. "Tell me the truth. When you were playing last night, how did it feel?" Maya thought back to that moment at the piano, when everything else had fallen away and there was only the music. "It felt like coming home," she said softly. "Like I'd been holding my breath for 3 years and finally could breathe again." Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "That's what I thought. Maya, I need you to listen to me. Whatever opportunities come from this, you take them. You hear me? No more putting your life on hold for me. But the medical bills, the treatment, we'll figure it out. We always do." Her mother's grip on her hand tightened. "You sacrificed your dreams for me once. I won't let you do it again. Promise me." Maya felt tears running down her own cheeks now. "I promise." They sat together for a while, holding hands, both of them crying and laughing at the same time. When Maya finally left the hospital, she felt lighter somehow, like a weight she'd been carrying had been lifted. She turned her phone back on and found even more messages waiting. But one stood out. It was from David Morrison. "Maya, I hope you don't mind me reaching out directly. Jennifer gave me your contact information. I'd like to meet with you tomorrow to discuss something important. Can you come to the foundation office at 2 p.m.? I promise this will be worth your time." Maya texted back immediately. "I'll be there. Thank you." The next day, Maya put on the nicest outfit she owned, a simple black dress that she usually wore to job interviews, and took the subway to the Morrison Foundation's office in Midtown. The building was beautiful, all glass and modern architecture. She felt out of place the moment she walked in. A receptionist directed her to the top floor. When the elevator doors opened, Jennifer was there waiting for her. "Maya, I'm so glad you could make it," Jennifer said warmly. "David's been talking about nothing else since the gala. Come on, he's in the conference room." The conference room had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. David was standing by the window when they entered, but he turned immediately and smiled. "Maya, thank you for coming." He gestured to a chair at the large table. "Please sit down." Maya sat, trying to ignore how nervous she felt. David took a seat across from her and Jennifer sat beside him. "I'm going to get straight to the point," David said. "The Morrison Foundation was established to support artists who show exceptional talent, but face financial or circumstantial barriers. My late wife believed that genius doesn't only exist in privileged circumstances, and that we have a responsibility to help talented people reach their full potential." Maya nodded, not sure where this was going. "Your situation is exactly what we were created to address," David continued. "You had a full scholarship to Juilliard, one of the most prestigious music schools in the world. You had to leave because of family medical expenses. That shouldn't be the end of your story." He slid a folder across the table to Maya. "The foundation would like to offer you a full fellowship. It will cover your tuition if you want to return to Juilliard, or any other school of your choice. It will also provide a living stipend so you can focus on your studies, and it includes a medical expense grant to help with your mother's ongoing care." Maya stared at the folder, afraid to touch it. "I don't understand. Why would you do this?" "Because talent like yours deserves to be nurtured, not lost to circumstances," David said simply. "Because my wife would have insisted on it, and because after seeing you play the other night, I believe you have the potential to be one of the great pianists of your generation, but only if you're given the chance to develop that gift." Maya opened the folder with shaking hands. The numbers on the page made her dizzy. It was more money than she'd seen in her entire life. Enough to cover everything. Her education, her mother's care, living expenses for years. "This is too much," she whispered. "I can't accept this." "You can and you will," David said firmly but kindly. "This isn't charity, Maya. This is an investment. The foundation invests in artists who we believe will make significant contributions to the cultural life of our society. In exchange, we ask that when you've established your career, you'll give back. Maybe you'll perform at fundraisers for us. Maybe you'll mentor young musicians who are facing their own struggles. Maybe you'll donate to the foundation when you're in a position to do so. We're not looking for immediate returns. We're planting seeds for the future." Jennifer leaned forward. There's something else. The video of your performance has now been viewed over 5 million times. We've been contacted by several concert halls who want to book you. Carnegie Hall has offered you a slot in their Emerging Artists series. It's in 3 months. We think you should take it. Maya couldn't speak. Carnegie Hall, the same stage where legends had performed. She'd dreamed of playing there since she was a child, but it had always seemed impossibly far away. I know this is a lot to process, David said gently. You don't have to decide everything right now. Take the fellowship paperwork home. Read it carefully. Talk to your mother. Talk to your advisors. But Maya, please understand something. What happened the other night wasn't luck. It was years of training and natural talent meeting the right moment. You earned this. Maya looked down at the folder in her hands. Inside was everything she'd given up 3 years ago. Everything she'd thought was gone forever. A second chance. A future. I need to ask, she said, looking up at David. Why me? There must be hundreds of talented musicians who need help. David smiled. There are, and we help as many as we can. But you, Maya, you have something beyond technical skill. You have heart. You play like you're sharing a piece of your soul with the world. That's rare. That's precious. That's worth investing in. Maya felt the tears coming again, but this time she didn't fight them. She let them fall as she looked at these two people, who were offering her a way back to her dreams. Thank you, she managed to say. Thank you so much. Jennifer reached across the table and squeezed her hand. We should be thanking you. That performance changed lives, Maya, including your own. As Maya left the building an hour later, the fellowship paperwork safely tucked in her bag, she pulled out her phone and called her mother. Mom, she said when her mother answered, remember when you made me promise to take the opportunities that came? Well, you're not going to believe what just happened. 3 months felt like both forever and no time at all. Maya spent those months in a whirlwind she still couldn't quite believe was real. She'd officially accepted the fellowship from the Morrison Foundation. She'd met with Patricia Wu, the talent agent, and signed a contract. She'd given notice at the catering company, though they threw her a goodbye party where everyone cried, even her tough manager. Most importantly, she'd started working with Vincent Chen, who'd taken her on as a private student. He was demanding and brilliant, pushing her to explore parts of her musicianship she'd never fully developed. Oped. But he was also kind, understanding that she was balancing her return to serious music with caring for her mother. Her mother's health had improved, thanks in part to better treatments they could now afford. She'd been moved to a better facility with more attentive care. Every time Maya visited, her mother asked about her practice sessions, about her upcoming performance, about whether she was eating enough and sleeping enough. You're worrying about me when you're about to play Carnegie Hall, Maya would say. I'm your mother, she'd reply. That's my job. Now standing backstage at Carnegie Hall, Maya felt like her heart might actually beat right out of her chest. She wore a long emerald green gown that the foundation had helped her choose. Her hair was styled elegantly. She looked like she belonged here, even if she didn't quite feel it yet. Through the heavy curtain, she could hear the audience filing in, the murmur of hundreds of conversations blending together. Somewhere in that crowd were her mother, who'd insisted on coming despite her doctor's concerns, Rita and several other servers from the catering company, David Morrison and Jennifer, Vincent Chen, Patricia Wu. People who'd believed in her when she was just a waitress with a dream. There were also music critics, journalists, and people who'd seen the viral video and bought tickets to see if she was really as good as everyone claimed. No pressure, Maya thought, and almost laughed at how absurd that idea was. 5 minutes, Miss Chen, a stage manager said, passing by with a headset and clipboard. Maya took a deep breath. Her hands were sweating. She wiped them on a towel someone had left for her, a small practical detail in this surreal evening. Vincent appeared beside her, elegant in his tuxedo. How are you feeling? Terrified, Maya admitted. Good, that means you care. He smiled. Remember what we worked on. Don't try to be perfect. Be honest. That's what moved people the first time. Your honesty. What if I mess up? What if I forget something? Then you improvise. You're brilliant at that. He placed a hand on her shoulder. Maya, you've already done the hard part. You've worked through loss and sacrifice. You've kept your gift alive when you had every reason to let it die. Playing tonight? That's the easy part. That's just sharing what you've already lived through. The stage manager returned. "Ms. Chen, we're ready for you." This was it. Maya walked toward the stage entrance, her gown swishing softly around her legs. She could see the piano waiting for her in the spotlight, the same way the Steinway had waited at the gala 3 months ago. Except this piano was on one of the most famous stages in the world, and she was about to play for an audience that had paid good money to hear her. The announcer's voice carried across the hall. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Maya Chen." She stepped onto the stage and the applause washed over her like a wave. The lights were bright, making it hard to see individual faces in the audience, which was both nerve-wracking and comforting. She made her way to the piano, bowed slightly and sat down. The audience settled into silence. Maya placed her hands on the keys and closed her eyes for just a moment. She thought about her mother sitting somewhere in that audience, probably crying already. She thought about every hour she'd spent practicing on that cheap keyboard in her apartment, trying to keep her skills alive. She thought about the night at the gala when she'd taken a chance that changed everything. Then she began to play. She'd chosen a program that mixed classical pieces with her own improvisations. She started with Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, because it had been the first piece she'd ever truly fallen in love with as a child. Her fingers moved across the keys with confidence born from countless hours of practice, but also with emotion that came from really understanding what the music meant now. The piece flowed from her fingers like water, each note clear and purposeful. She could feel the audience leaning in, listening. No coughs, no rustling programs, just pure attention. When she finished the Beethoven, she moved seamlessly into her own improvisation, letting the classical piece inform what came next. She created something that honored the tradition while being entirely her own voice. It was risky, but Vincent had encouraged her to take risks. "That's where the magic lives," he'd said. The improvisation built and evolved, telling a wordless story about dreams deferred and dreams reclaimed. About loving someone so much you'd sacrifice everything, and about people who help you find your way back. It was her story, but she suspected it was also the story of many people in the audience. People who'd given up things for family, or who'd had their own dreams interrupted by life's unexpected turns. She played for 40 minutes without stopping, moving through her program with a combination of technical precision and raw emotional honesty. By the time she reached the final piece, Chopin's Nocturne, the same piece she'd played at the gala, she felt like she was playing it for the first time. She understood it differently now. It wasn't just a beautiful melody anymore. It was a thank you note to everyone who'd helped her get here. The final notes faded into silence, and for a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the audience exploded into applause. People rose to their feet, and the sound was almost overwhelming. Maya stood and bowed, tears streaming down her face. She'd done it. She'd actually done it. The standing ovation lasted several minutes. Maya bowed again and again, overwhelmed by the response. Finally, she walked off stage, where Vincent was waiting with the biggest smile she'd ever seen. "That was extraordinary," he said, pulling her into a hug. "I'm so proud of you." Jennifer appeared with tissues and water. "There are people already asking about recording contracts. The critics loved it. And your mother is backstage asking for you." Maya found her mother in the green room, and they held each other and cried. No words were necessary. Everything they needed to say was in that embrace. Over the next hour, Maya met with audience members, critics, and potential collaborators. A record label executive wanted to discuss an album. A concert promoter talked about a national tour. A documentary filmmaker asked if she'd be interested in telling her story on camera. It was overwhelming and exciting and exhausting all at once. Later that night, after all the meetings and photos and congratulations, Maya found herself alone in her apartment. The emerald gown hung in her closet next to her old catering uniform. She smiled at the contrast. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "I'll never forget tonight. You made all the hardship worth it. So proud of you, sweetheart," Maya texted back. "I love you, Mom. None of this would mean anything without you." She walked to the window and looked out at the city lights. Somewhere out there were other people like her. People with dreams they'd had to set aside. People who felt invisible. People who wondered if they'd ever get their chance. She hoped her story would show them that chances could come when you least expected them. That courage could mean simply offering what you had even when you were afraid. That dreams didn't die. They just waited for the right moment to wake up. Maya thought about the girl she'd been 3 months ago, carrying champagne in a ballroom, watching a piano from afar. That girl had been brave enough to take a chance. That girl had changed her own life by being willing to be seen. She would always be grateful to that version of herself. The next morning, Maya went back to the hospital to play for her mother and the other patients. She'd promised herself that no matter how successful she became, she'd never forget where she came from. She'd never forget what really mattered. As she played in that small hospital room, her mother's hand in hers, she realized something important. Carnegie Hall had been amazing, but this was just as meaningful, maybe more so. Because music wasn't just about grand stages and standing ovations. It was about connection. It was about sharing something real with other people, whether in a famous concert hall or a quiet hospital room. She'd learned that lesson the night she was just a waitress who offered to play. And it was a lesson she'd carry with her always, no matter where her music took her next. 3 months after her Carnegie Hall debut, Maya got a call from the Morrison Foundation. They wanted to start a new program, a scholarship fund specifically for working-class artists who had to leave school due to family circumstances. They wanted to name it after her. "We want to help other people like you," David told her. "People who have the talent but need support to make it possible." Maya said yes immediately. She knew exactly what that support could mean, because she'd lived without it and then been blessed to receive it. As she hung up the phone, she thought about all the future artists who might get their chance because someone believed in them, all the stories that would be told because someone was given the opportunity. She sat down at her piano, the real one she'd been able to buy with her first concert earnings, and started to play. Not for an audience this time, just for herself, just for the pure joy of making music. Outside her window, the city hummed with life. Somewhere out there, maybe another waitress was serving champagne at a fancy event. Maybe another dreamer was wondering if their chance would ever come. Maya hoped they'd be brave enough to take it when it did. Hoped they'd remember that sometimes the most extraordinary things start with the simplest choice: to be seen, to be heard, to offer what you have even when you're afraid. Because that's where the magic begins.